talk about a correlation between film violence and gun violence today. What role do you think it actually plays?
You know, there's been violence in film for so long, and there's so many factors. I talked about this a couple weeks ago at the press conference, and there's so many factors nowadays. Why wasn't there the amount of violence in society back then when there was still a massive amount of violence? Is it really because of a movie like Gangster Squad? Is it because of a movie like Saw 9 or whatever, you know, the latest Saw is? Is it that? Is it repression, like what I just said, and not being able to do fisticuffs, and therefore you repress any kind of natural testosterone manifestation of that? Is it because of, you know, the fact that parents aren't necessarily at home as much as they were before, and both parents have to work? And, you know, I mean, there's so many different factors. You know, this is an escapist deal. When you go to a movie, you hopefully allow yourself to kind of live through this movie and get that out and not feel like it's going to lend to you going, and you know, a lot of these violent things are happening with kids too, which I'm not going to pretend like I know the correlation, but I think it's a lot bigger than movies create incredible and awful violence.
What did you think about being called back to reshoot the final
I
shoot
thought
'em
it
up
was a
scene?
smart thing. I really did. I liked that scene a lot, but the correlation was so perfectly paralleled that I think it was respectful to go back. I don't think it changes anything, you know, but I think to go back, and I actually like the new version better. You know, I think the old version was cinematically kind of beautiful looking, but then again, it's not really supposed to be. This one is more kind of typically violent and not so romanticized.
To me, it was seamless. You wouldn't have
Good.
even known that you guys
and
went back and did
it was great for me
it.
to see that, you know? It was like, oh, that's too bad we have that thing that people are reacting to, and you look at it from a business sense, and then you get the new one and you go, oh, it's just better anyway.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
appropriate
it's
to
more
show the
connected.
sensitivity.
Totally.
No, I don't think there's a correlation between Hollywood. I think we're telling a story, and I think, you know, we used weapons from that time period to help us tell the story of these gangsters and going against the police.
I think that, you know, that life is a situation where everything has an effect on everything else. But you know, it's hard for me to speak to something like that just because it's, obviously lately, so much has happened in our country that is so horrific and kind of inexplicable that it's been a strange balance to promote a movie that has gun violence in it and talk about it in a way that feels good.
Right.
So, yeah, it's kind of hard to speak to.